আচ্ছা, তোমরা আমার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছ? হ্যালো?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
তাহলে আমি স্ক্রিন শেয়ারিং অন করে দিয়েছি অলরেডি, চলে যাচ্ছি ওখানে। ঘটনাটা হলো যে আমি ভুলে গেছি কতদূর পড়িয়েছি। আমি যাচ্ছি, এগুলো একটু আমাকে বলে দিও তো। এগুলো হয়ে গেছে জানি। এই মেমোরি গুলো আমি করছিলাম নাকি, না হয়ে গেছিল? That is completed. That is different type of memories, read only memory and read write memory. These are the different type of read only memories. I think I have used, mentioned.
Sir, you have started rings and sync architecture.
So started
Ring, risk and sync
risk. Okay, okay,
architecture.
okay, okay. Risk. Yes. Fine. Risk and CISC. What do you mean by this? Reduced instruction set. There are computers, or rather processors, okay, that are working on some simple sets of instructions. Okay, the instructions are of very simple type. Each instruction can uh, uh, perform only simple type of basic job. So when we want to execute some complicated task, we have to use a number of simple such instructions in various combinations to get our job done. Okay. What is the advantage of using RISC then if we use a simple type of instructions only? The advantage is that as the instructions are, each unit of instruction is very simple, okay, and very regular. Their byte lengths are also quite consistent, or then it takes very small time to execute each unit of instructions. Okay. And on the but the uh, problem of working with RISC is that even when we want to do little bit of complicated job, we have to think from the very scratch. We have to use various combinations of instructions, okay, just by thinking from the very down level, low level. Okay, so our mental loading may be quite high, but once we complete our task, we finish our job, the whole thing can be executed quite fast. Okay. On the other way around, the CISC, or the complex instruction set computer, okay, each instruction may perform a simple type of job or may perform a complicated type of job. Okay. So that is this type of thing. So here, therefore, each instructions, their lengths are of varying nature. The instructions that are performing simple type of job, the length of the byte length of each instruction is quite small, and those instructions that are used to perform complicated job, the length of the byte length of each instruction is quite high. So these are the processor having instruction of varying length in the CISC processor. Okay. In RISC actually the machine cycles involved in executing one instruction is uh, of either have same number or more or less same number. Okay, I can give you one example. In your 8085 microprocessor, you will see that the sum of the instructions are having smaller number of machine cycles, some are having larger number of machine cycles. When you perform, say move A comma B, here its machine cycles are quite small than when you use STA or LDA or these type of instructions. Here machine cycles are larger. Okay, so these are our 8085 microprocessor is the example of CISC processor, not RISC. But most of the microcontrollers, or I should not use the term most, but quite a large number of microcontrollers, they are basically the RISC processor, RISC microcontrollers. Okay. And now I don't want to say anything on pipelining actually. What is a just in the last line you will get last, but there is a pipeline concept of. Here I don't want to say too much on pipelining now. Pipelining is just the concept of parallel processing. Say traditionally it was used from the concept of uh, the streaming of petroleum fluid flowing through a pipe. Okay, when there is a processing taking place in a petroleum, the petroleum is injected into a pipeline, and at various segments of the pipeline, different processing is carrying out. In the first stage of pipe, there is some initial processing is going there. In the second segment of pipe, next stage of processing going. Finally, we get the end product. Okay, when the petroleum is coming out of the entire pipeline. So at within the same pipeline, different processing is going on simultaneously at different segments of the same pipe. Here also within the same processor, different type of processing is going on. So the concept of parallel processing effectively is coming, is associated with the term pipeline. But I don't want to say too much on pipeline right now. Okay, in the parallel processing can be easily implemented in RISC processor because instructions are of same length, which is not easy to implement in CISC processor. Okay. Again, there are some more features actually there. The decoding is simple in RISC because the instructions are simple and are of same length, whereas it is not simple in the CISC processor. Okay. In RISC processor, to expedite the process of execution, okay, no memory unit is associated, but in CISC, some memory unit is also available to execute instructions, okay, whenever necessary. Okay, so supporting memories are used actually in CISC processor. Okay, the our Intel processors, all that microprocessors like 8085, 8086, 186, 286, 386, 486, Pentium 1, 2, 3, 4, our Core 2 Duo or dual core processors, nowadays i3, i5, i7, i9 processors. These are all examples of actually uh, the examples of CISC processor, whereas uh, the peak AVR ARM, these are the example of RISC processor. Actually, there is a mistake. I'll rectify it. The last two lines are getting interchanged. Peak AVR ARM, these are the examples of RISC processor. Okay. Now, we are almost at the end of the chapter 1 here. We need to know which type of microcontroller we need in our particular application. Obviously, in a particular application, first we have to know how much speed we need. Depending on, we will select our microcontroller of required speed. We also need how much memory unit is required to write a program and to execute, and then we will select our required microcontroller. So it is the trade-off between it is the optimization between the available memory and the required memory. The number of pins available in a given application versus the number of pins that is required by us. The other hardware features, in some application we need some extra hardware support, maybe the support of timer or PWM or PLL or ADC or DAC or many other type of things. depending on either we can write program from the scratch to implement those auxiliary functions, or the best way is we select a particular group of microcontroller where that functional facility is already available. That functional facility is already available. Then we need not write program from the scratch. We will use just the hardware segment of that particular microcontroller. We will write the appropriate instructions to trigger those hardwares, and then our job will be done very fast and almost automatically. Okay, and obviously we'll see that in course of time sometimes we need to modify our existing program, whether our chosen microcontroller can support the modification of our program, that we will do in course of time. Okay, so different versions of programs, okay, should be written and executed by the microcontroller. Now one more thing we need to know in this context, that is the packaging of the ICs, the how the ICs are coming. There are many things that can be mentioned here regarding the package of the IC. I don't want to say, mainly I want to mention two type of packages available here. One is a DIP or dual inline package. Most of the ICs that you use, this is having the dual inline package. In a dual inline package, DIP package, the pinouts are coming in two sides of the IC, integrated circuit. Just it is seen that in the particular figure. Just like in your 555 timer or OP07 or various analog ICs, you will see that the pinouts are coming from the two ends. Okay, pinouts are coming from the two ends. So all the pins are arranged in two rails actually on the two opposite ends of the ICs. So they are connected parallelly actually. But in the QFP package, quad flat package, the pinouts are actually available surrounding the entire IC from all its four sides. From all its four sides. Okay, this type of ICs uh, are mainly used when the number of pins required are quite large. Okay, although for so small number of pins are also manufacturers used to make both the versions DIP and QFP, no problem. Everything is available in the market. Okay, but for ICs of higher number of pins, QFP is better. Quad flat package. Okay, then the power consumption. Nowadays, it is not very much important in our context because most of the ICs are working with a very low power consumption, but it becomes important when the ICs are working on in a battery powered mode. So to just eliminate the unnecessary drain out of power from the battery, then power consumption may become an important issue. In those cases, the ICs that are made of CMOS transistors should be used because CMOS transistors are working on lower voltage level. In TTL logic, transistor logic, okay, all the logics are in 5-volt compatible signal. 1 means 5 volt, 0 means nearly 0 volt. Okay, but in CMOS volt compatible ICs, the working voltage may be 5 volt, maybe 3.3 volt, maybe 2.5 volt, maybe 1.1 volt also, or 1.8 volt also. You know that power dissipation is proportional to the square of the voltage. So as the voltage level is uh, lowered, the power dissipation is lowered also with the square of that particular voltage. So power is reduced drastically. Power is reduced drastically with the lower voltage level. For a battery powered circuit, for a battery powered device, this becomes mainly one important issue. In space application also, okay, this is where things are solar driven. These are also therefore becoming very vital. And then other things are the cost power unit for bulk application, okay, some feature enriched application, okay. These are various things that is required.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, would you please repeat how QFP is better than DIP packaging?
Okay, you see that in QFP, our pinouts are available from all sides of the IC, from all four sides. You see there is a rectangle or square shaped IC, and pins are available from all four sides. So larger number of pins can be drawn out. But in DIP, you see only pins are available in two sides, not from four sides. There is one more thing also in DIP. Actually, normally the dimension of sorry the dimension of each projection of pins or pin terminals are normally larger. The size of each pinout is larger than that available in QFP. In QFP, the pin terminals are quite small. Okay, dimensionally they are very compact because it was produced, manufactured later. It is the technology of latest technology. So the large scale integration is very much applied here. So therefore, it can support different large number of pins. So in that sense, and therefore the space consumption in a board is quite less because of the QAP package. Clear? So that is this particular thing.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to say a little bit on the history of AVR microcontroller. AVR microcontroller, traditionally it was made by Atmel, the company Atmel. Later it was taken over by Microchip. Now this AVR microcontroller, it has different type of microcontroller ICs. One is called a tiny AVR microcontroller series. In tiny AVR microcontroller series, the size of the microcontroller ICs are quite small. I will show you the picture later. Since it is a microcontroller of small size, but its capacity is quite large, in many compact application, we can use it where complex programs are not too much used. Then it will be a space saving and power saving solution. Okay. Next came the Mega AVR series. It is the most popular series of microcontroller in that particular history of AVR microcontroller. Our Mega AVR microcontrollers are there that in our class we will discuss one type of Mega AVR microcontroller. In our syllabus that is there. Okay. It is a normal microcontroller, a microcontroller of normal size and shape, and it has enormous power, computation power. It can be applied almost everywhere. Okay, in our common applications. Xmega is a microcontroller that supports some advanced features, normally not used in all the common applications. It is required in high-end applications. Some specific things where normal microcontrollers may not be an optimized solution, may not offer an optimized solution. Okay. Some other application specific AVR is there. Some microcontroller that are actually manufactured only to cater some specific need only. Some specific features are there. Okay. And some AVR with FPGA is also there. I don't want to say anything on FPGA. You will learn it in the other part of this subject. So that FPGA is another type of hardware which is actually used with the microcontroller hardware, normal AVR microcontroller hardware. So it is also used in high-end application, mainly in high-speed application. And some other 32-bit AVRs are also there that can do things very fast also, and it can work with large number of very large amount of memories also. Again, they are used in high-end applications. But the most popular application is catered by Mega series of Mega AVR microcontrollers. Now in tiny AVR, these are the small sized microcontrollers. Their program memory, the size of the program memory. Program memory means it is the memory available to write a program. Okay, the program memory space is 0.5 kilobyte to 32 kilobyte. And the number of pins are how much? Maybe 6 pins to 32 pins. So a small sized AVR microcontrollers are these type of things. And the number of pins are available means the peripheral connections are also having limited scope, and it has less number of instructions and features, and small packages are also there, so that it can occupy small space but can do its limited job within that particular space saving feature. Okay, so there is a table that I don't want to say too much, but at least you can say that if you compare that, there is a code ROM, means the program memory, data memory is there. Data memory is a read write memory or RAM. We can read data, we can write data. So data RAM, for data memory actually RAM or RWM is used. Whereas for program only read only memories are used, but these are rewritable read only memories. Things can be read and written, okay, but the writing facility is not as frequent, as easy as is available in RWM or RAM versions. Things are there. Note one thing, that you need not remember all the things. At least one thing you see, that here is the version of microcontroller, here is its memory capacity. Compare the table that is ATtiny 13 and ATtiny 84. In ATtiny 34, code ROM is 1K, whereas in ATtiny 84 it is 8K. The data RAM is 64 in the first version, and last version it is 512. E-square PROM also is there, another type of memory, electrically erasable programmable memory, read-only memory. Its size is also increased with the versions of the microcontroller. Number of pins are also increased, and some other features like ADC, timer, these are also increased. Okay, so these are the small sized microcontrollers. Now, if we see the Mega AVR, it is either DIP package is available or QFP package is available. Okay, in our case, we'll use ATmega 2560 microcontroller. In our case, here program memory you'll see is quite large compared to the ATtiny series. Okay, it is 4 kilobyte to 256 kilobyte, and number of pins is 28 pins to 100 pins, so large. There are extended instruction sets, multiplication, and many other arithmetical logical unit instructions are available there. And extensive peripherals are there, peripheral facilities there, because we are having large number of pins with that microcontroller. Now in the Mega AVR, actually there are various versions available: ATmega 8, ATmega 16, ATmega 1280, and our target for programming is ATmega 2560. Okay, we want to write program in ATmega 2560 microcontroller. Okay. Now, if you see the table, you'll see that here is the version, here is the code ROM or data ROM or data is square PROM available. Okay. So that is there, and other features are also available. Number of pins are more, number of ADCs, timer, these are all more. Here. XMega extended that XMega series here, larger program memory, more number of pins, more facilities are there, more peripherals, and everything is higher there. Okay, so ATX Mega A, ATX Mega B, ATX Mega E, these were different series microcontrollers are available there. And application specific AVR, some AVR microcontroller that can do only a selected job, just like one application is shown here, ATmega 169. It is a LCD joystick. Built-in application is already there. We can buy it from the market. Whereas specific microcontroller is already mounted inside. We need not write anything there to implement that particular job. Okay, so it's an application specific microcontrollers are there. Note that there are many other application specific features are there. There are many microcontrollers that are having LCD facility. There are microcontroller with USB controller, USB facility, microcontroller with advanced PWM, pulse width modulation, which is used extensively in power electronics application. That is the PWM microcontrollers. CAN bus, microcontroller with CAN facility. It is used in the automobile application. Okay, in automobile application, okay, these microcontrollers are used. Okay, so already some features are there. We need not require extra hardwares. The microcontrollers are equipped with those extra hardwares required. So these are that. And again, you see here is the version, here is the facility. Again, these way. Don't worry, I will give you the presentation after I complete the discussion of chapter. Okay. But your group mail, okay, it's there with me, I think. Now there is a microcontroller with FPGA also, so it can work with a very high speed. It can run up to 50 megahertz clock speed, so extremely fast. Okay, microcontroller is there. There are some more things written. I don't want to say mention this thing because you don't know FPGA right now. And 32-bit AVIs. Other microcontrollers are 8-bit. Although you can do all many, you can club those bits to generate effectively larger number of bits. But 32-bit AVIs are built-in 32-bit microcontroller, so it can work with large number of data, memory, everything. Okay. Now, one very important thing in the in context of the microcontroller is you need to remember this thing is the three types of memories. These are very important. Okay, you have to encounter these three type of memories. Okay, in different type of microcontrollers. One is a flash memory, another is a RAM memory, RAM, another is the E-square PROM. Flash memory is a particular type of memory, flash, where we write program. All the programs are stored in those particular area of memory. Okay, and it is directly under the control of program counter. PC not personal computer, it is program counter. Okay, so and SRAM space is what? It is the memory where we can write as temporary variable. When we write any program, we use many temporary variables. These temporary variables are used in that particular program. Once we come out of the program, all the variables will be automatically destroyed. So these temporary variables are stored in SRAM memory. The random, that is the read-write memory area. It is used as a scratch pad actually. When the power goes out, there is a sudden power cut, then the content of flash memory and SRAM memory, these are erased. But the content of E-square PROM is not erased, even when the power is off. For a particular microcontroller, whether it can run faster or not, one very important thing is the size of flash memory, SRAM memory, and mainly these two memories are important. In some application where we need to store things permanently, even when power is off, the E-square PROM memory space is required. So mainly flash memory is used to store program and SRAM memory is used to store data or temporary variables. SRAM is used to store data or temporary variable and flash is used to store program. So you can say that thing. Okay. So if you see different type of Atmega series of microcontroller, Atmega 8, Atmega 16, Atmega 32, Atmega 1 to 8, you will see that as the chip number, IC number increases, the capacity of the flash memory, SRAM and E-square PROM increases. What's about Atmega 2560? Don't worry, I will discuss it separately. That's why it's not given in the table. Okay, so that's all about our chapter 1. I will just send it later, this presentation to you. Now I want to go to the second chapter. Note that in my mobile phone, I am using my mobile phone in the presentation. Okay, that's why sometimes there is a formatting error coming. You see that some lines are getting overlapped with the next line. Don't worry, in the original presentation, these problems will not be found. Okay, as I am running it through my mobile phone, actually the PPT is running in the mobile phone. Sometimes a format mismatch is there, therefore some lines are getting overlapped with the next line. and some bullets are not coming also properly. But don't worry about that particular thing. Now in the chapter 2, we'll see the hardware organization of our microcontroller of our interest. What are the essential hardwares our microcontroller is equipped with? So those hardware facility we need to know so that we can write program to trigger them to use them in our application. Okay. So next chapter is the hardware organization. Now a lot of things actually there shown in the architecture of this particular thing. Atmega 2560 block diagram. Okay. So if you see that there are various actually facilities available. Okay, there are different. Okay, ports are also there. I think by this time you know a port. What is a port? A port is a bundle of conductors. Okay, it is a bundle of conductors. It is a bundle of pin terminals that are doing a group of job that are allowing data transfer or some information transfer, I should say, through that bundle of pins. Okay, it is something like the door or gateway, door or window of our room. Okay, it is the gateway actually of information transfer. So in our microcontroller there are how many ports? There are 11 such ports available. Port A, port B, port C, up to port K, 11 number of ports. Such a large number of ports you see. So 11 bundles of conductors, 11 set of pinouts are available through which we can allow our information transfer. So such a large number of pinouts are available there in our Atmega 2560 microcontroller. Okay, so different ports are there. Then we see that there are some more hardwares are there, are timer or counter hardware. There are 6 number of timer or counter. Why I am writing timer slash counter? Actually timer or counter, same hardware, sometimes it is behaving as a timer, sometimes it is behaving as a counter. What is the difference between a timer and a counter? A timer, it increments, okay, at fixed rate. It is driven by the clock of fixed time period. Just like a normal timer in your mobile phone, you set the alarm. You want to wake up early morning. So you are setting your timer in the mobile phone, okay, with a required time. So it will count up the clock cycle in the background. When the desired time is achieved, then it will give us some alarm. Okay. So it is reaching the end of count, okay, in synchronism with the clock pulse. Okay. But for a counter, it is not like that. It increments not in synchronism with the time. It increments in or maybe that it decrements also in synchronism with some event. Example, say if you want to count how many cars are passing through a road, sometimes whenever a car passes through a particular point of a road, the counter will count up. Means one car is crossed. When a second car is crossing the road, passing by the road, the counter will count further. Okay, thus the count value will give us the number of cars passing by within a given passing by. Okay, when no car is passing, counter is not counting up or down. Okay, so passing, when a car is passing, it means some event is happening. When no car is there, no event, so counter is not changing its count. So it is an event driven operation. Event driven operation. So counter works on event driven operation. Whenever some event takes place, it will count up or down. So it is not attached, not in synchronism with any clock. Okay. So same hardware, sometimes it can be used as a timer, sometimes it can be used as a counter. Just by writing a program, we can do it. Okay. So in our Atmega 2560 microcontroller, there are 6 number of timer or counter is available. 6 hardware segments. These are called TC0, TC1, TC2, TC3 up to TC6. Sorry, TC5. 0 to 5 means 6. 6 timer counters are available. T means timer, C means counter. Out of all such 6 units, TC0 and TC2, these are 8-bit timer or counter. They can count only 8-bit quantity. So 0 to 255, 2 to the power 8 minus 1. 0 to 255, that much of timing, count time operation or count operation can be performed. But timer TC1, TC3, TC4 and TC5, these are 16-bit timers. Okay, actually there is a overlapping of consecutive lines. Don't worry, these are the formatting errors, so that's why these type of things are there. Don't worry, in your original presentation these will not come. So TC1, 3, 4, 5, these are 16-bit timer or counter. They can count up to 16-bit data, that is 2 to the power 16 minus 1 or 65,535. That much of thing can be counted, that much of data can be counted. So there are 4 such 16-bit timer counter available here. Okay. Next is the watchdog timer. What is a watchdog timer? It's a special type of timer. One watchdog timer is available in a microcontroller which is not available in many microcontrollers. One watchdog timer needs to be reset, okay, within a particular interval. If we don't reset the watchdog timer, it will reach the final count. Once it reaches the final count, then either some alarm will be annunciated or some system reset or system shutdown will take place or some new program will start. I can give you some examples. Say in your ATM, when you withdraw money, if you don't do any operation for some amount of time, your ATM will be locked again. It will not work further. So there is a one watchdog timer that will go on counting up. When it reaches the top of the count or maximum count, it will lock the machine so that nobody can just do the previous operation. Similarly, a screensaver program. If you don't do anything for some amount of time, the watchdog timer running in the background will reach the maximum count, and once it reaches the maximum count, it will generate another program which will be used as a screensaver program. Okay. Similarly, there are other watchdog timer that will cause some system to shut down after a specific amount of time. Okay. So many other watchdog timers are there. So we need to uh, press the key, or we need to do something at regular interval of time. Every time we press the key or do some operation, the watchdog timer will be reset and will start counting from 0 again, so that it cannot reach the maximum time quickly. So until and unless we press any key, it will go on counting, and ultimately it will reach the top of the count or maximum count, and it will generate another alarm or annunciation or another program, or it will cause shutdown or do any other thing. So one such watchdog timer is there in our Atmega microcontroller. Next is what? It is the USART, Universal Synchronous Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter. I think you know one dedicated user in your microprocessor class in the previous semester. One USART hardware IC is Intel 8251. It is Intel 8251 chip or IC is the IC with which we can write all the serial programming, user related programming, universal synchronous asynchronous receiver transmitter. But here when we use the Atmega 2560 microcontroller, we need not use any supporting IC like 8251 or something like. The dedicated user functionalities are already embedded inside the processor microcontrollers. There are four such user unit available within the microcontroller IC. So any serial programming can be performed just by writing program there. We don't need the help of any other IC like 8251 or something like there. Next is there are many communication protocol that are supported by these microcontroller, Atmega 2560 microcontroller. Okay, one such communication protocol is TWI or I2C. Now TWI means two-way interface. I square they are same actually. TWI and I2C they are same. I2C means IIC actually. IIC, inter IC communication. When we need to connect two ICs with those pins, with those conducting wires, and they are following I2C communication or TWI communication, then the data transfer will be very fast among these two ICs following that protocol where number of pins involved are quite small. Number of pins involved are quite small, but the data transfer is quite fast. Note that only between two ICs we can communicate, not with one IC and one peripheral device. That's why it is called inter-IC communication. I will tell much more on this thing later, not now. Next type of communication protocol supported by this type of microcontroller is the SPI communication, serial peripheral interface. That is a extremely fast type of communication where we want to transfer large amount of data in a small time. Then SPI protocol is used. SPI communication protocol is used actually. Next is there are 16 number of analog to digital converters. ADCs are there. We don't need to connect separate ADCs, analog to digital converters. You know, there is one very popular ADC used is the ADC 0808 or ADC 0809. These are 8-bit ADCs. Okay, here. So when we use these ADCs, we can connect them with the microprocessor or microcontroller. But here we need not connect any external ADC. There are 16 number of internal ADCs available. ADC 02, ADC 15. Such 16 number of ADCs are there. Okay, with the microcontroller. So such is the large amount of facilities available with that Atmega microcontroller. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, শুনতে পাচ্ছ আমার কথা?
Yes, sir.
হ্যাঁ, মানে অনেকক্ষণ আমি বকে যাচ্ছি তো, তাই ভাবছি যে কাউকে তো দেখতে পাই না এখানে, এই হচ্ছে অসুবিধা। ঠিক আছে, ওকে। Next we see that we want to see Atmega versus Arduino. Sometimes we may wrongly think that the Atmega microcontroller and Arduino board they are same. Actually no, Arduino is a type of the board used by a manufacturer or group of manufacturers. It is a particular type of board where but the microcontroller is one important or the heart of the board. It is the most important IC which is present inside the Arduino board. You see, in the Arduino Uno, many of you know this thing and you have worked also in that Arduino environment. Arduino is the trade name or generic name of a board. Okay, it is a generic name or trade name of that particular board, and over that particular board, that board is driven by a microcontroller. So microcontroller is the center of attraction of that board. So for Arduino Uno, what is the microcontroller used? It is Atmega 328. It is the AVR microcontroller, Atmega 328. It controls the functionality of Arduino Uno board. Now Arduino Mega 2560 board, in that board, okay, the Atmega 2560 microcontroller is used. Atmega 2560, this particular microcontroller, it works as the heart of the board. It works as the heart of the board. And here in our present class, our target of illustration is on the Atmega 2560 microcontroller. Okay, Atmega 2560 microcontroller. So we will discuss this type of microcontroller in our particular thing. So, so we know that the Arduino board and microcontroller IC, they are not same. Microcontroller IC is one integral part of the board. Okay. Just 1 minute. Oh, so that is our Arduino microcontroller versus Arduino board. Now there are various pins are there in the microcontroller IC. I don't want to discuss this thing now because it will be just unnecessary discussion in our context. Okay, only one thing that in our microcontroller there are colors are used, that all the power pins are used in the red mark, ground pins are black, control pins are yellow, port pins are also yellow, like that is there. That will be useful in later, not now. Now we want to know how to write a program into the microcontroller. There are different type of programming method available, okay, into our microcontroller. One is the ISP, in system programming. In system programming means when the microcontroller is already connected in one application or in one board, okay, we write a program and just download the program into the microcontroller. The microcontroller will change its operation according to the new program downloaded. The microcontroller need not be disconnected from its application board. We need not disconnect it from the Arduino board or from any other board. That's why it is called in-system programming. Okay, there are many other type of programming. Now, in-system programming is that one. It is supported by many other applications. So there are, for our microcontroller, there are ICs, the dedicated ICs, dedicated pins are available through which we can write our program. Okay, there are programmer is there through which we can, once we write a program, that program will be actually transferred through some programmer into the microcontroller via its ISP pins, in system programming pins. Okay, and JTAG, joint test action group. So JTAG is the cable actually through which, okay, the information will be transferred to a socket called JTAG port. Okay, it's the bundle of conductor or bunch of pins, okay, into which the information will be going or where from the information will be available. Okay, so JTAG is the pins through which not only programming is performed, but the debugging is also there. Debugging means finding errors of the IC, errors in the program, that will also be found. So it is not strictly a programmer only. It can do a lot more than these. We can find out the errors also within the hardware and software. Just, you may not understand all these things right now. That is not any problem. Rather, as the time goes on, you will be conversant with the environment later. Just I am telling something so that things should go into your ears. Later, you will be habituated with all such things, step by step. So even when you don't understand these hardware units or these type of things, don't worry. Things will be clear afterwards. Next, another type of programming method is the DW programming, debug, where there are 3 pins mainly that are used. Okay, through these 3 pins, a microcontroller can be programmed. So debugger unit is there. The debugger unit, it debugs or finds error inside the AVR microcontroller. Now, the most important thing for writing a program is the bootloader, pre-programmed bootloader. That will be important in our con. What is a bootloader? Okay, a bootloader is a some dedicated program. Okay, some program is written by somebody, not by us. It is written by somebody, and that program is stored into the already existent memory area of the microcontroller. That small AVR program will help other program to enter into the microcontroller and to reside there, so that microcontroller can now start its new job with the newly downloaded program. So this bootloader program actually is one program that will help other program to do its functionality. Okay, it will do other program to, it will help other program to do its functionality. That is the bootloader program. It is stored, okay, in its flash memory area. Okay, so when we use our Arduino board, what do? We write a program in the PC, in our computer or laptop or wherever possible. Then through the cable, that program is downloaded into the microcontroller. How does a microcontroller understand that something has been downloaded into it? And how does microcontroller communicate and follows this new program? Because some already existent program is there inside the microcontroller memory. This installed program is called the bootloader program. Somebody has written, the manufacturer, at the manufacturer end, some program is already stored inside the microcontroller. And that already existing program can help other program to be downloaded and interpreted by the microcontroller accordingly. Okay, and then microcontroller can communicate. In our Arduino board, actually, there is the RS-232 port is there, serial port through which our computer or laptop is connected to the microcontroller, and microcontroller understands all the information coming through the RS-232 port or serial port. Okay, microcontroller understands it. Now you see here, say this is our computer or a laptop, whatever it may be, where we write our program in the, say, one Arduino environment. Okay, and our Arduino board, where microcontroller is the heart of the Arduino board, it is connected through one USB cable to the CPU of our computer or laptop. But how does our microcontroller come to know the program already written in our PC or laptop? Because some bootloader program is already there inside the microcontroller. Somebody has written and stored the bootloader program in the flash memory of the AVR microcontroller, and that bootloader program allows other program to enter into the IC, so that microcontroller can follow that program, can interpret it accordingly. So get my point? What is a bootloader? So that is the concept of bootloader. It is something like the operating system, in not exactly like that, but in a restricted way we can say that thing. Okay, in the operating system we can write our application, we can use other application, we can use our PPT, we can write thing in C program, C, we can write thing anything in our MS Word, we can do any other, we can run MATLAB, we can do anything in our operating system environment. So it is something like that one. So a pre-programmed bootloader is that somebody has to load the microcontroller with the bootloader program so that it can understand other program. So a bootloader device is already there through which we can write a program and store it into the microcontroller as a bootloader program. So other devices are there already. So I don't want to discuss all these things. So these are all, actually all the bootloader is supported by the most AVR devices. Our Atmega 328 used in the Arduino Uno or Atmega 2560 used in Atmega 2560 board, they all support the bootloader program. They are equipped with bootloader program. There are many other programming protocol, HVSP, high voltage serial programming, HV, PDI, program and debug interface. There are other forms, but in our context, mainly we will use the bootloader program. The available bootloader program we will use. The tiny programming interface, TPI, these are different type of programmer available to write program. These are not AWA, that is there. So these are all there. Different type of programmer is there. Programming facility method is there. So ultimately, what we do, what is the steps of writing program? We will write a program either in C or in C++ or in assembly language, okay? And that will be converted to the hex file by a compiler or assembler, whatever it may be. So this is the software part, from high level language or some low level language to the machine language or hex file. The software part that we find in our PC or laptop. After hex file is generated, hex file is nothing but the stream of bits, zeros and ones, nothing else. These zeros and ones are taken by the programmer, and the programmer actually allows some these zeros and ones to be written into the microcontroller. Okay, so programmer will allow this thing to be written into the microcontroller, and now the microcontroller will, once it is equipped with the programmer through the programmer unit, when it is equipped with the program through the programmer unit, microcontroller will start its job of executing the program. So where we write our program, we can write here. There is some AVR Studio ID is there. Actually, it is that software environment is it is actually offered by the manufacturer of the microcontroller. That is the Microchip company. They are giving us AVR Studio free, AVR Studio ID free. So if we download it from the net, okay, we can write program there. But one problem of using AVR Studio is that we can use assembly language programming there free, and we can write C program also there, but not a large amount of program. To write large program, we need to buy AVR Studio from the Microchip. But we, specifically Indians, want to do things in free environment. We don't want to pay money at all. In that case, what I do, I'll show you. In the Arduino ID, you know Arduino ID is an open source ID. It is available freely in the net. So we can download Arduino ID freely, and there we will write our program. So how to use Arduino ID to write program in our microcontroller? This is one unique thing that you will not get too much. These books are not available in the market too much. Some books are there, but these are they are not doing things in a very complete way. Okay, I can claim, I don't know whether it's an overstatement or like that. You can judge it later from your experience. That I can claim that I can give you at least some method of using the Arduino compiler or Arduino software ID. ID means, you know what? Integrated Development Environment. So integrated development environment, Arduino ID, I can claim that I can show you the method of writing program in Arduino ID. You can write all the assembly level program or register level program or C program, everything or their combination, okay, in the framework of Arduino ID. IDE. Everything can be done there. So I will use Arduino compiler, which is available freely in the net. Okay, but not today. Okay, so not today. So that is the end of our presentation. From next onwards, we'll start writing program, I think. Okay, using Arduino IDE. Those who don't know or the term Arduino, I will advise you to consult internet to know something more about Arduino. I can deliver a separate lecture on Arduino, but in that case, we will deviate from our original lecture. So that's why you better consult it in your net. But even when you don't know things, no problem. Ultimately, things will be clear to you at the end. With this, I like to stop.
Thank you, sir.
So, so now I stop screen sharing. Okay. So thank you. I want to stop today. Okay. We
Thank
will
you.
contact later in the next Wednesday. There can have a one more class. I will make a contact with you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.